Everyone, my name is Zino and welcome to the next part of the hardcore. Don't forget to like and subscribe to reach 5000 subscribers as soon as possible. Day 201. I start the morning in the giant cave because in this day I decided me to remake the deep dark city from the new Minecraft update. I took my all emeralds from my old beacon and I took a lot of emeralds from my villager. After that I go back in the cave and I started to make a beacon. I made the beacon and now I need to make a way to the surface so I can activate the beacon. In the end of the day I arrive to the surface and that is very close to my island. Day 202 to day 203. I activate the beacon and I place on that haze 2. After that I start lighting the cave where will stay the future deep dark city. After that I found a natural generation fish farm. The fish are spawning in water and after that he fall out of the water and die. In the next part of that today I start to make a lot of terraforming here to prepare the place for the future deep dark city. Day 204. I made so much terraforming in the previous 2 days, but when I see the new structure of the deep dark city I realize that I need a lot of more space and I start to work again to make terraforming to prepare the place for the new deep dark city. To the end of day 205 I make a lot of terraforming and I hope that's enough so I can remake the deep dark city here. Day 206. Because I need candles to remake the deep dark city I need a honeycomb farm and for that I go to find a bee nest. After some time I found a bee nest and some bee very close to that. I took some flowers and I attract the bee to the bee nest. I placed down some flowers and I coach the bee in the bee nest. Day 207. I start the day by making some hoppers and I go to work on the honeycomb farm. I made a collection system and now I start to work on the structure and after that I start to work on the redstone part of the honeycomb farm. The rest part of the day I spend by making trade with my villagers to sell clay and buy quartz from that. Day 208. In that morning I start to work on the body of that building. Because I need a lot of dispenser to the honeycomb farm I start to make some. After I place the dispenser I start to make a lot of shears and I start to fill up the old dispenser with shears. I took some flowers from my iron farm and I start to place that. And to the end of the day I multiply my bees. Day 209. In the morning I start to work on the sheep farm because I need grey wool to my deep dark city. After a little bit time I finish to make a little collection system. I made some minecart with hoppers and I start to place that. I finish to place the minecart with hoppers and I start to place the grass. I made some observers and I placed that. To the end of the day I made some dispensers and I placed that. Day 210. In the morning I beat a creeper and after that I continue to work on the redstone part of the sheep farm. After I finish to make the redstone part I start to transport my sheep to the sheep farm. I caught some sheep in that tower and after that I transport the sheep into his place on the sheep farm. That was very hard because the sheep don't want to go in his place. I worked very hard and after some time I finished to transport all 6 sheep in that sheep farm. Day 211. Because I need grey wool to my deep dark city I need some grey dye and for that I need to get some black dye. Black dye I can get from squid. And I start to beat some squid. I get some grey dye and I go to make my sheep into grey sheep. And I got the first piece of grey wool. I return to my bees with some flowers and I multiply that. And I collect some honeycomb. I made some bee nest and after that I go to place that. Day 212. In the morning I go back down to work on the deep dark city. Because I don't need more the beacon I destroy that. After that I start to prepare some materials for the future deep dark city. I work hard to the end of the day and I make a big part of the bridge, but I go back to the surface because I need more materials. Day 213. In that day I go in Nether to collect some basalt because I need smooth basalt to my deep dark city. After I took a lot of basalt I think that's enough and I go home. When I arrive back in the overworld I make some cracked deep slate brick and after that I place some basalt to smelt. After I gather some materials at the end of the day I work on the tunnel from the deep dark city. And that's look like very good. Day 214. In the morning I give some fish to the cat which is spawned around the iron farm and now I have 3 cats. After that I collect the old wood I have in the wool farm. I gather some honeycomb and I make candles from my deep dark city. And I place it. To the end of the day I made another structure. Day 215. In the morning I start to work on some tunnels of that deep dark city. After some time I finish to make a starter structure of the tunnels, and I start to fill up the structure with grey wool. After that I go back to the surface to multiply my bees because I need more honeycomb. After that I go to check how many wool make my sheep farm. I continue to work on the tunnels of the deep dark city and I make the first wall. Day 260. In the morning of that day I continue to work on the walls of the tunnels of the deep dark city. After some time, I finished to make a big part of the wall of the tunnels. I go back to the surface to multiply my bees because I need a lot of candles. I collect the wool from my sheep farm. Because that farm are slow, I go to my other sheep and I make grey sheep. After that, I collect a lot of grey wool. Day 270. In the morning, I collect my old pumpkins. After that, I meet with a rendering trader and that don't give too much stuff. I go in Nether and I start to collect soul soil because I need a lot of. I arrive in the overworld and I start to make some soul torch. With that soul torch, I make soul lanterns to my deep dark city. And to the end of the day, I start to place a lot of soul lanterns. Day 218. After I made a bridge and a tunnel, I decided me to make another tunnel to that deep dark city. And I start to work. After a lot of time, I finish to make a big part of the tunnel, but I need more wool. For grey wool, I go back to the surface and I start to collect that from my sheep. Day 219 to 221. In that morning, I decided me to start to work on the biggest structure of that deep dark city. That are going to stay here. I start to work on that structure and that is too bigger for that little cave, and for that I start to make some terraforming on the top of the cave. In the meantime, I go back to the surface to collect more wool. To the end of day 221, I finished to make the terraforming on the top of the cave. Day 222. In that morning, I decided me to extend the wool farm because I need a lot of wool to my deep dark city, and in that way the sheep can faster grow up his wool. And in that way I gather a lot of grey wool. I return to my deep dark city and I finish to make the top of that biggest structure. Day 223. I start the morning again with my sheep by collecting more grey wool. I go in Nether to collect some glowstone because I need that to my deep dark city. For the rest part of the day I go back to my deep dark city. Day 224. I start the day by gathering a lot of obsidian because I need that for a special effect to my deep dark city. I gather 50 pieces of obsidian and that is enough. I gather some soul soil behind my portal. After that I collect a lot of cobblestone from that mountain. Now I go to collect some wood. In the end of the day I get a lot of materials to my deep dark city. Day 225. I start the morning by made some soul campfire. After that I go behind my giant structure and I start to work. After that I go behind my giant structure and I start to work. I made another portal and I activate that. And now we get that beautiful effect behind the giant structure. After that I place some chain in the tunnel of the deep dark city. After I work on a lot of details, in the end of day 225 I finished to make the entire deep dark city from the new Minecraft update, and I very like how it's look like. Day 226. I start the morning on another island because in that day I want to start to work on the Guardian farm. Here is the ocean monument and I go to explore that. Because I need some help in the ocean monument, I start to craft some doors. I craft a lot of doors and now I go directly to beat the 3 Guardian boss. I found the first one and I start to beat that. I beat the first one, I beat the second, and finally I beat the third one, and now the ocean monument is free. I found the sponge room and I start to collect the sponge. In the end of the day I got 1 stack and 29 wet sponge. Day 227. Early in the morning I go back to my island to smelt my sponge. After that I made 3 chests, I made 3 shulker boxes, and now I have 4 empty shulker boxes. To the end of the day I go to my desert to collect a lot of sand because I need so much sand to the ocean monument. Day 228. I worked so hard and finally I finished to fill up my all 4 shulker boxes with sand. After that I go to my ocean monument and I start to place a lot of sand. The end of the day is here and I succeed to make a little sand wall. Day 229. In the morning of the day I start to make an outline of the ocean monument with sand. After I finish the outline, I continue to work on the sand wall. After some time, I found a very efficient way to place the sand. The night is here and I finished to make one part of the 4 walls. Day 230. The morning I start to complete that little part of the first wall. After some time, I found another very efficient way to place the sand very fast. The end of the day is here and I finished to complete another big part of the walls. Day 231. In the morning I go back in the deep ocean and I continue to place sand. After some time I discover that I can place 4 blocks, not 3, in that way. That is so fast. The end of the day is here and I finished to make 75% of the sand walls. Day 232. In the morning I start to work on the remaining part of the sand walls. After a lot of work I finished to make the outline of the ocean monument. After that I start to make some section because I want to make my work easier to remove the water. I work hard to the night and I finished to make the first section. Day 233. In that morning I decided me to go in Nether to repair my old items with XP for my gold farm. After that I go in the closest desert and I start to collect sand. After a lot of time I finished to fill up the all 4 shulker box with sand. I return to my ocean monument and I continue to work on that. I work hard and in the end of the day I place a lot of sand. Day 235. Early in the morning I start to place a lot of sand. I work hard until to the night and I place so much sand. Day 236. In that day I decided me to go home because I want to work on the super smelter. And for that, firstly I start to collect a lot of wood. I work until to the night and I got a lot of wood. Day 237. In the morning I leave my old wood in that chest and after that I go to collect some. And after that I go to collect my old iron from my iron farm. I made some oak planks, some chests, and after that I made a lot of hoppers. And after that I start to place a hopper on the top of each furnace. After some times I finished to place the old hoppers and now I need a lot of chests because I want to make a little storage behind the old furnace. I spent a lot of time but finally I finished to place a lot of double chests behind the old furnace. After that I place a lot of hoppers on the top of some double chests and after that to the end of the day I start to collect wood. Day 238. In the morning of that day I continue to collect wood. After I cut down my entire forest I start to replant that. I work until the night and finally I finished to replant the old tree. Day 239. In the morning I took my old iron, I make a lot of hoppers and I start to place that on the top of each double chest. After that I start to work on the fuel distribution system. After some times I use my old hoppers and now I go back to the ocean monument to work on that. Day 240. In that morning I returned home, I took my beacon, I made my beacon and now I start to make some terraforming in that part of the island. I work until the night and half of my pickaxe durability is gonna out and my shovel entire durability is gonna out, so I decided me to go to my gold farm to repair the boat item. Day 241 to day 242. In that day I decided me to go back to the ocean monument and work on that. I worked hard in the previous day and I used my old sand and for that I need to go back in my desert to collect more 4 shulker box with sand. The end of the day is here and I collect a lot of sand. Day 243. In that day I continue to collect sand because I need so much. I work until the night and my shovel durability is gonna out, but I managed to complete the 4 shulker box and that part of my inventory. Day 244. In that day I return to the ocean monument and I start to place a lot of sand. I work hard until the night and I complete a big part with sand. Day 245. I start the day again on the ocean monument and I continue to place sand. I work hard until the night and finally I finish to place the old sand. Day 246. In that morning I start to make some obsidian because I need a portal to my ocean monument. After that I took my sponge, I arrive to the ocean monument and I make another portal. And that are a very good location to smelt my sponge. After that I go back to my ocean monument and I start to remove the water. I use my old sponge and I remove a big part of the water. Day 247. In the morning I finished to collect my old wet sponge and that's the moment when I decided me to go to explore another ocean monument because I need a lot of sponge. I beat the first boss, the second one, and finally I beat the last boss. The mining fatigue effect are gonna out and now I can start to collect the sponge. To the end of the day I got a lot of sponge. Day 248. In that day I decided me to continue to explore another ocean monument because I beat the guardian very easy. I beat the first one. That was the moment when I'm very close to die, but I'm lucky and I'm escape. And after some moments I beat that. And now I start to collect the wet sponge. After that I go to another ocean monument and I start to explore that. When I beat the last boss, the end of the day is here. Day 249. I found the sponge room and I start to collect that. That ocean monument are 4 rooms with sponge and I got so much sponge to the end of that day. Day 250. In the morning I go in Nether and I start to smelt very fast my sponge. After some times I got 6 stack and 46 piece of sponge. And now I continue to remove the water. The end of the day is here and I finished to remove the old water from the first. Day 251. In the morning I place the entire shulker box of sand to smelt. After that I go in Nether to collect some magma block and an enderman are attack me. After I fill up my entire inventory with magma block and netherrack I return home. Day 252. In the morning I return to my ocean monument because I think I have a lot of sand here and I need sand. Because I need gravel I start to collect the ore gravel which is on my island. But firstly I need to repair my shovel because his durability is gone out. When I return in the overworld I got a lot of gold. and I start to work. The end of the day is here and I got so much gravel. Day 253. In the morning I made some red dye and after that I made red concrete powder. And after that I start to transport the powder in solid concrete. I arrive in a very high place and I jump down. After a lot of time, in the end of the day, I finally transformed the oak powder in solid concrete. Day 254. In the morning, I took my old glass from the super smelter and I transformed that in red glass. I go down to the slime farm and I collect a lot of slime ball, and after that I start to work on the design of the slime farm. I made a big part of the design of the slime farm, but unfortunately my red concrete was not enough. For that I go back to the surface and I start to make some red concrete. At the end of the day I got a lot of red concrete. Day 256. I work on the entire day on the design of the slime farm and finally I finished to make the entire design of the slime farm. And I think that's look like very good. Day 257. In the morning I took my iron and gold. And I start to make some rail, and because I don't have redstone for power rail I need to go in the mine to mine a lot of redstone. The end of the day is here and I got only 40 pieces of redstone dust. Day 258. In that day I continued to mine redstone, but now I go very deep for that. Accidentally I found some diamonds. After some times I found one of the rarest mob in Minecraft. That's a zombie with a full diamond armor and enchants. That's a very rare mob. Because that is a very rare mob, I decided to go with that to the surface and to place that in a special location. The end of the day is here and I continue to move the zombie. Day 259. In the morning I continue to move that zombie with a full diamond armor to a special location. After some time I arrive to the surface with that and I block that here. In the end of the day I give to that a name because I don't want to despawn. Day 260. In the morning I make some power rail, some redstone block, and after that I go to work on the collection system of the slime farm. The end of the day is here and I finish to place a lot of rail and power rail for the collection system. Day 261. Firstly I made some chests and hoppers. After that I made a system which I move the item from the minecart to that double chest. After that I go to the surface and I start to work on the surface building. I work on it the night and in the end of the day I finish to make a little structure. Day 262. In the morning I continue to work on the surface building of the slime farm. After some time I finish to make that above the water and I add some details. Because I need smooth quartz to the details, I place some quartz to smelt. Day 263. In the morning I make a lot of white concrete powder and I start to transform that in solid concrete. After a lot of time I finish transform the ore powder in solid concrete. And I start to work on some details to that platform. Day 264. In the first part of the day I finish to make a big part of the design of that pillar, and after that I go to make more white concrete because I need that. And I finish to make the design of that little pillar. After that I took some emeralds and I go to my villager to buy some quartz. And I place that quartz to smelt. In the end of the day I got some smooth quartz. Day 265. In the morning I start to make a bridge to that pillar. After some time I finish to make the bridge to the pillar and some stairs in that. After that I go to the desert to collect cactus. Day 266. In that morning I extend a little bit the storage of the mob farm because that is so full. After that I start to work on a platform because here I want to make a slime statue. I took my old glass, I buy more quartz from my villagers, I made a lot of slime glass, and in the end of the day I start to collect gravel. Day 267. In the morning I made lime concrete powder. And I transform that in solid concrete. And I continue to work on the platform where we stay the slime statue. And after a little bit time, I finish to make that. I work on it to the night and I finish to make a half of the slime statue. Day 260 to 269. In the morning I took some iron, some chests, some wood, and I start to make a lot of hoppers. And after that I start to prepare some materials for a sorting system. After that I go to my gold farm and I start to make a sorting system for gold ingot, gold nugget and rotten flesh. After some time I finish to make the sorting system, I test it and the sorting system work perfectly. Day 270. In that day I continue to make some concrete. And I continue to work on the slime statue. I make a big part of the slime statue, but I need more glass and more concrete. After that, to the end of the day I work to make more concrete. Day 271. In that day I continue to work on the slime statue. After some time I finish to make the concrete part of the slime statue and now I need a lot of glass. After I gather some lime glass I continue to place that to the end of the day. Day 272. I spend the entire day to finish the slime statue. Day 273. In that morning I make some fireworks because I remain without any firework. After that I collect some kelp, When I arrive down to the slime farm, I see that I have so much slime ball without any iron golem, and that's very good. And after that I start to work on a tunnel wherein I can transport the slime ball to the surface. And I work on that until to the night. Day 274. In that day I start to work on the storage system in the slime statue. After some time I finish to make the storage system and the item distribution system. After that I start to work on the redstone part of the system which I transport the item from the slime farm to the surface. The end of the day is here and I finish to make the redstone part. Day 275. In that morning I install the collection system and I finalize the item elevation system. When I arrive to the surface I made more line concrete, and to the end of the day 275 I finished to make the design of the interior of the storage room. Day 275. Because in the future I want to remove the water from the ocean monument, I need a hoe which with I can break very easy the sponge. That I took an enchanted book with mending and unbreaking 3, and after that I go to my villager to gather an efficiency 5. After I gather the enchanted book which I need, I start to make the hoe with efficiency 5, unbreaking 3 and mending. I took my oil sponge and to the end of the day I remove water. Day 277. That day I go in nether with my old wet sponge and I start to dry that. 278. After I remove a lot of water I go again in nether to dry my wet sponge. I return in overworld and I start to remove the water. Day is approaching and I remove a lot of water. To the end of the day I dry my sponge. 179 to 280. Morning I collect my dry sponge from nether. And I continue to remove the water. I work a lot of time, but finally I finish to remove the old water which is above the ocean monument. After that, to the end of the day I start to remove the sand with all technique with the torque. 281. That morning I fill up my entire inventory with sand. After that I go home and I took a lot of wood. I make a lot of chests and I place that because I need a location where I can store a lot of sand. I leave some sand. 282 to 283. In the morning I start to continue to remove the sand. After I finish to remove the whole sand I go to collect my wet sponge because that was remained in the last 4 sections. The day is here and I finish to collect my old sponge. 184 to 285. In the morning I go in nether and I start to dry my old sponge. After that I go in the ocean monument and I start to remove the old water which is in the ocean monument. Work until the night and finally I finish to remove the old water which is in that ocean monument. Day 286. Morning I dry my sponge again. After that I go under the ocean monument and I start to remove the water. 287 to 288. Today I decided me to remove the entire interior of the ocean monument and I start to work on that. And I work on that until to the night. 290. The morning of day 290 I finished to remove the entire interior of the ocean monument. And I gathered some gold. It's very interesting, and in the floor of the ocean monument I found the amethyst structure. After that I start lighting the entire interior of the ocean monument with sea lanterns. End of the day is here and I finish to lighting the entire interior of the ocean monument. 291. Morning I go under the ocean monument and I starting to lighting that because I want to prevent the mob spawning. Work on the entire day. And in the end of the day I finished to lighting that. Day 292. In the morning I start to work on a prismarine farm and firstly I prepare to place where the future guardian will die. I place some block of redstone and after that I place a lot of power rail. The rest of the day I spend by collecting a lot of redstone. Day 293. In that morning I make more power rail and I start to place that. A little bit time I finish to place the old power rail and after a little bit time I start to place a lot of magma cube for the killing system. 294. Today I go back to my island and I start to collect a lot of wood. After a little bit time I gather a lot of wood. At the end of the day I finish to make the storage location and a little part of the sorting system. Day 295. Morning I start to prepare the materials for the sorting system. And I start to work on that. To the end of the day I go in nether to gather some soul sand and kelp from the ocean. Day 296. Morning I start to work on the elevation system of the storage. After a little bit time I place the water in that. I work on that until to the night and all stuff are worked perfectly. Day 297. I made some light blue glass and I start to place that. I managed to make the entire structure and now the last thing which I need to make is to place a lot of water in the interior. I start to work on that. In the end of the day I finish to place the water in the first part. Day 298. In the morning I go to check the sorting system because the farm are start to work. And after that I start to fill up with water the parts too. End of the day I check again the sorting system and all stuff are work perfectly. 299. Morning I took some sand and after that I start to surround the ocean monument with a big circle of sand. Work until the night and I start to make a little outline. Day 300. In the morning I start to place a lot of sand to go up with the sand outline to the surface. The end of day 300 is here and I finished to make a big part of the giant sand circle. That was the next part of the hardcore. Don't forget to like and subscribe to reach 5,000 subscribers as soon as possible.